AVC YouTubers and especially Sly Stone fans, because this is a little segment about the new documentary that just dropped on Hulu February 13th, 2025, called Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius. So we're going to go over that. That was directed by Questlove, the great drummer. He also directed The Summer of Love, which was a great documentary about this great music fest that occurred in New York City. If you haven't seen that, check that out. But if you don't have Hulu, try to get someone who has Hulu to watch this documentary on this band, Sly and the Family Stone, specifically Sly Stone. This is going to show his rise, peak, his fall, and hopefully his rise again. It's a typical rock documentary, but it's very infectious. It's really, really well done. I really have to take my hat off to Questlove, who really knows his stuff. He got every clip that's imaginable, every interview that's really cool. He interviewed his Sly's kids. He interviewed people from Sly's band. Sly was not interviewed in it, but we get some interviews from Sly that was done up for some certain TV shows in the past. So you get to see a little bit about, what Sly was thinking during his kind of meteoric rise, because, he started out as a DJ in a radio station, I believe, in San Francisco. Here's one of the early albums I'm going to talk about. This is called Dance to the Music. The first album and the first two albums I don't think were big hits, kind of discouraged him. But he was signed by Clive Davis when Clive Davis was with Columbia. So Clive is also interviewed in the documentary. George Clinton from Funkadelic's Parliament, Shaka Khan, the great Shaka Khan, D'Angelo, Niles Rodgers, and many of others. You also see clips from Sly, probably very high, being interviewed by Dick Cavett on the Dick Cavett Show. But it's really cool. It's not a hagiographic type of documentary in the true sense, although they do kind of show, how show his greatness, also shows his warts. And of course, we all know that, toward the end, he kind of started getting into drugs, actually crack, actually got into drugs with George Clinton from the Funkadelics. But basically, I recommend this movie, Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius. It's about 112 minutes long, so it's a little bit under 2 hours, directed by Questlove. So what it does is it actually invoked a lot of joy in me, because I heard that music every day on AM radio. My mother always had the radio on, always listened to Sly. My neighborhood, I was in the city, so Sly's music was all over the place. And Sly had one of the first, in America, basically, the first mixed bands with ladies, white men, black men, just a really cool mixture. And the music was infectious. It was rock and roll. It was funk. He actually inspired, the music, when you watch this documentary, shows the inspiration that Prince must have derived from Sly, what Rick James must have derived from Sly, because back in that time it was James Brown, Sly. They were the ones that were really funking it up. Parliament and Funkadelics. They were kind of colleagues. Like I said, George Clinton and Sly Stone were hanging out. They did a lot together. So we get a lot of interviews from people today, but we also see those clips, and those clips, like I said, are just joyous for me. I was really happy. And as a tribute, I have, Sly always wore, all the embroidery scarves and corsage scarves, knitted scarves and jackets. So I've got this. This is probably 50, 60 years old. Maybe my grandmother did it, or my wife's grandmother, crocheted these scarves. And it's kind of cold here anyway. I have an old leather jacket on to show my appreciation to Sly. So we do a little props here as well on Tony's LPs Are Us. So the the documentary is just very good. It's got a lot of good music. So if you have a stereo system or a surround system, that's hooked up with your home theater, definitely crank this up because it rocks. Hulu did a really nice job with the sound, or Questlove did a really nice job with the sound. The sound's in not really quite a true 5.1, but it is in a really nice stereo sound on during my transmission through Hulu. So I recommend that you see this movie. You will be pleasantly surprised on how many of Sly's songs that you know. Sly hasn't really been in the headlines for 30 years. I have his records. I think I may have his last record that he did. It's very funky, but he never had that. He never had the success he had when he started out. Don't forget, they started out in on Woodstock. They actually performed at Woodstock. They did a medley of 3 songs. I believe it was I Want to Take You Higher and some other songs which I'll go over. So once they hit Woodstock, like so many other bands in Woodstock, they just was an overnight sensation, especially when the album and the movie came out. So it charged that progression up and up and up, and it charged the pressure that Sly Stone was under, because Sly, he was the man. He was the chef. He cooked all that music together. He had his brother Freddie. He had his friends from other ventures. He had the girls were playing trumpet. I'll go over their names in a minute. So the great bass player, the great drummer, though, he had a white drummer, which was very unique for a black band to have a white drummer. The rhythm section was white and black. The horns were great. So it was also that type of era where you had horns in your music. He loved the Beatles. He loved the Stones. He incorporated soul music, gospel music, rock music into a funk. He was a very funky guy, and that's why his association with George Clinton was so cool, I think, because they both had that funk thing in. And this documentary was 4 years in the making, so it's really well put together. It's one of those documentaries that it takes you higher, no pun intended, takes you on a plane, takes you lower, then takes you back up, because you kind of see that Sly is alive, right? Sly does live. Sly lives, the title. And, it gives you a whole new awareness of Sly Stone. Now, I know a lot of people my age, we dig Sly and the Family Stone. We were out, like I said, I heard that music growing up, in high school and junior high school and grade school. So we really dug it. But I hope that the new generation or the new vinyl community locks into this after this documentary. And maybe that was Questlove's motivation, to give him his props. It's not the hagiographic type of documentary. It does show him in a good light, but it also shows Sly's warts. He was a true genius. And it follows the same formula that you could put, what's his name? Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, even Rick James, where, that catapult into stardom. Then once you get there, your next record has to be better than your last record. But your last record was an incredible last record. Your last record was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But you have to better that by yourself, because, you're surrounded by, not great players, but you're surrounded by talented players, but they're not writers. Like the Beach Boys with Brian Wilson. He was the writer. He was the impetus. And it kind of, he kind of got sick because of that. He couldn't deal with it. Sly couldn't deal with it. Sly went into heavy drugs. I don't think not so much alcohol, but what happened was with the drugs, he started showing up at gigs late. A couple of gigs were canceled. There's a riot going on, actually occurred because Sly didn't show up. And it shows some of those clips. So you see, the good, the genius and the bad, and what being a star really does to you. It's not easy. I always give people credit for going out on the road, making better music than the last album. We saw it with Elvis. We see it with so many superstars. We could use a million examples because it's still happening today. It's so hard to reach that pinnacle, and then once you reach that pinnacle, to stay there is tough. It's just one of those things of human nature. You try to get better, you can't get better. So what do? You go into a depression, and basically that's what Sly did. He went into a depression. The record company's pushing him. The royalties were stolen from him. He probably died broke. It doesn't really talk about his finances, but when you watch the story, you'll see that you'll be amazed if you don't already know the Sly Stone story about where he ended up. He has children from different ladies. One of them was in his band. We get to see his children. We get to see his brother. Talk about Nile Rodgers was a friend. Shaka Khan toured with them. Clive Davis actually signed them to Epic when he was with Columbia and Epic. So you get a really broad sense of Sly Stone, more so than I never knew. And the first hour of this is a lot of clips, so I was really into it. And I pulled out my Sly and the Family Stone record collection, and I started playing those, and I started doing some research. So I wanted to just give you a heads up. If you don't know about this, it's on Hulu. It's streaming. Eventually, it'll probably be released as a Blu-ray, hopefully in 4K if you're into that type of thing. I'm happy with Blu-ray myself. So there's a lot to look forward to. I remember a few years ago there was actually a Sly and the Family Stone live record that was produced on Record Store Day, so that was really cool. I didn't pick it up. Had I been into Sly like I am now because of this documentary, I'm easily influenced. I probably would have bought it. But this is an infectious documentary, just like Sly's music was. And don't forget, he basically influenced Prince, Rick James. That's evident. He helped Motown when he was doing protest songs. Sly's records were not only fun dance music, they were also protesting social awareness of what was going on in the world. We had Vietnam, we had civil rights. So he was kind of in the forefront of that before Motown got into it, even before Marvin Gaye got into it with what's going on. So maybe if we didn't have Sly, we wouldn't have had a Marvin Gaye doing what's going on. We wouldn't have had the Temps doing Ball of Confusion and Psychedelic Shack. So, there's a lot to take in on this. He was such a showman. If you all remember, Tiny Tim got married to his wife on the Johnny Carson show. Was a huge ratings thing. So Sly Stone got married to Kathy, what's her name? Kathy Sullivan or Sillison during a concert at Madison Square Garden, was sold out show. So he actually was such a showman, and that was a sold out show. So he was really cool. He was always trying to get to that next level. He was friends with Billy Preston. Like I said, or if I didn't say it, I thought of it. He was into the Beatles. He was into the Stones. He was into the James Brown, which he incorporated all that great funk into this great AM and FM music. So he was one of the first bands to fully cross over into, a black artist into a white, mainstream, radio stations. But back in the day, music was just, intermixed. It was all good music. Like Duke Ellington said, there's two kinds of music. There's good music and bad music, and that's what I believe as well. So go see the documentary Sly Lives, aka The Burn of Black Genius. Questlove directed. It's on Hulu. It'll probably be on other platforms soon. You can probably see clips of it on YouTube, I'm not sure. But I'm going to show some of his records, or probably most of his records, and then we'll leave it at that. So thanks a lot. Please like and subscribe if you haven't subbed. We really appreciate it if you do, if you consider it. And thanks to everyone who has subbed. So I'm just going to go over some of the records that I pulled. Of course, you have Woodstock, and you can see Sly is one of the headline bands, Sly and the Family Stone, right before 10 years after. And this is the original Woodstock trifold. And he's on side 5, right after Jefferson Airplane. You have Sly and the Family Stone medley, Dance to the Music, Music Lover, and I Want to Take You Higher. Now, in these 12 minutes or so that this actually medley occurred, they were catapulted into a much higher level than they were just on their own volition, their own hit records. Next up, we have Dance to the Music. This is Sly and the Family Stone. And what's cool about this, you have Dance to the Music, Higher. You have a medley, Dance to the Medley, Music is Alive, Dancing, Music Lover. Burn Baby Burn was probably a protest song. I'm not sure. I don't remember it. You have great liner notes from Al G from station WWRL. Now, that's the station, I believe, in New York that was one of the first people to promote Sly and the Family Stone. So, and like I said before, or I said it on one of my outtakes, that Sly started out as a DJ in San Francisco. So he was really a historian in music, because he played everything on his station. So, but what's cool about this, I don't know the dates of these. I didn't look this up, but this is early. This is a epic. Here is the that's a really nice copy on Epic. Sly and the Family Stone, Dance to the Music, right? Great hit. But on the back end of the liner notes, Sly writes this little synopsis of the band. My association with the Family Stone makes me realize that the worst thing that could happen to me is for something to happen to any member of my group. So he really loved his group. They were all, like family. They were family. And they talk so highly, because most of them are interviewed, and they talk so highly of Sly. But the last word on here is, I wouldn't trade my group for all the tea in Mexico. And I don't think he meant tea. I think he meant something else. So that was something that caught my eye when I was looking at these albums. Next up, we have Life, which is a rare one. You don't see this too often. This didn't sell that great. This doesn't have any real hits on it. I believe this was his first record. And Roscoe from WNEW does the liner notes. And here it says, and Sly Stone is the fountainhead, a source, a beginning, the spirit of 68. And you'll regret that you have but 2 ears to give to this album. Each cut grooves, and each cut grooves anything you've heard before. It's electronic, it electrifies, it protests, i.e. it's forceful, it is psychedelic, i.e. it delicately balances the psyche. So Roscoe was cool. If you don't know Roscoe, check him out on YouTube. There's probably clips. I was growing up listening to Roscoe on WNEW FM. So here's that record, Life, Sly and the Family Stone with the original ringwear. Here is the label. Here we have Sly and the Family Stone, self-titled, I believe. No, this is not self-titled, but this might be. This is Sly and the Family Stone. And here you have the band members, Freddie, Rose, Larry Graham, a great bass player, went on to form his own group, Cynthia, Greg, and Jerry. He mentions them in some of the songs. They really rock out. Like I said, it was one of the first integrated rock bands. You know, there was a lot of bands like that in Europe. I don't know if there was many bands like that in the U.S. You did have the Chambers Brothers and things like that, but Sly took it to another level, and he was really cool about it. Here you have Stand, I Want to Take You Higher, Everyday People. It does Sex Machine, 1348, so I'm not sure if that is a if that is James Brown's Sex Machine. I have to check that. 1 second. Here is the liner inner from Columbia, Epic, with the posters. Here's the back with one of his children. So this is actually Sly and the Family Stone. This is called Stand. I'm sorry, Stand. Sex Machine. This is Sex Machine by Sly Stewart. So this is Sex Machine by Sly. So I have to check that out. I just know Sex Machine from the great late hardest working man in showbiz, Mr. James Brown. Here you have a nice one, still in the original shrink. This is Greatest Hits. Thank you for letting me be myself again. I want to take you higher. Hot Fun in the Summertime. What a summer anthem. His records were everywhere. They were coming out of cars. They were on 8-track, AM, FM. AM was bigger than FM during these early years. Stand, Fun, Everybody is a Star. Everyday People, Dance to the Music. You can make it if you try. Sing a Simple Song, Milady Life. So every song on this is a top Billboard chart. They sold millions and millions of albums. Here's the Epic label. I'll show you the rest of it. This is in shrink. This is from a department store that we had called Two Guys. You can see the little chart there. Here's a little tribute to Sly there. I didn't bring out my crocheted hat, but there it is. So here you have a beautiful record in shrink. Look at that. And up is Sly and the Family Stone, Dance to the Music. Dance to the Music, High Ride the Rhythm, Are You Ready, and others. This is also on Epic. All his records that I have, early ones, are Epic. I don't believe I have any of the reissues. These are OGs. This is a Epic, looks like a later Epic. This is a repress. Dance to the Music. I'm not sure when this came out. It has an early number, 30334 on Epic. And Morgan Ames, the contributing editor of High Fidelity, did the great liner notes. So with these liner notes, you could actually outline a documentary if you had to, because the liner notes start from the beginning and they go right up until the end. Here you have a great one with the American flag on it. I believe this is a Sly and the Family Stone. There's a riot going on. Here's the actual insert that's in there with the lyrics. And this was a great protest album, but it was a protest album with the protest weaved into joy. He turned something that was serious into something that was joyful and danceable. So what it is, Sly and the Family Stone. It's about time. It's about space. It's about ups and downs caused by life in general. It's about the music. It's about the people who are interested. It's about running away. It's about love and hate. It's about brave and strong. It's about smiling just like a baby. It's about a poet. It's a family affair. So there's a riot going on, and here's the sheet with the lyrics. Not all my copies have that, so that's pretty special to me. Here is a Epic inner. This might be the garden, I'm not sure. There's a collage of the band. So really cool stuff. I'll show you the label. There's a riot going on. Epic. And Sly wrote all these songs. They weren't all arranged by him, but Sly wrote all these songs. And like I said, the pressure of keeping this up, album after album, and it was he was so prolific, but it had to end. You cannot constantly go to the well. He was only one guy, basically. The band was around him. He didn't have Paul McCartney to get some insight from John Lennon or George Harrison or Ringo. He did not have that. He was alone, like Elvis was alone, and he kind of ended up, in a sense, like an Elvis, where Elvis got into the drugs, even though they were prescription. Elvis got into the drugs to keep that momentum going, to keep that show must go on, attitude and belief, right? Here's one that's Sly and the Family Stone Fresh, one of the later ones. This is a very funky album. This has Thank You, Thankful, Thoughtful, Keep on Dancing, Que Sera, Sera, Whatever Will Be, Will Be. He was a big Doris Day fan. That's a Doris Day song, I believe. His Doris Day's son used to go over to Sly's house either in L.A. or Frisco and hang out with him. There's a lot of things that are not in the documentary that I know about. Even Charles Manson was over at Sly's house, although Sly didn't know who Charles Manson basically was. There's the Orange Epic. And there's a great shot of him with the typical hat. Here he is, looking like a leather-clad rocker. But like I said, Prince, Funkadelics, all those great bands, probably the Ohio Players, they were all influenced by this man, Sly Stone. Here you have some great things, great portraits of the band. And here we have one with his wife and his child, his son. His son is interviewed in the documentary. Son's pretty cool. Son's got to be in his 50s, I would imagine. And this had Small Talk. I don't know if it had a lot of hits, but this is a very funky record. There's the back. Here is the inner with the liner notes. And Steve Lake from Melody Maker wrote these inners, wrote this, and there's some great pictures there. That's with his brother and someone else. That's Freddie Stone. And there's pictures of the group that he was with at the time. And most of these people are interviewed in the documentary. Here is a Orange Epic. Here's one of the later Sly records that I have. Actually, it's the last one I have. Sly and the Family Stone, back on the right track. Trying to make that comeback. I believe this was 79-ish or so. So, a little over 10 years, a little over 13 years when he debuted. And you could see he still looks good here. But he had that drug problem, and kind of was his undoing. Besides the pressures, besides the, just the pressures of being a genius and having to support not only his family but his group, the record company, the royalties that were lost. So check out this documentary. I think you'll have a greater insight into Sly Stone. It's just great. It's the ups and downs and ups and it ends in what I think is a high note, the peaks and valleys, but it ends in a high note. So see it. Questlove did a great job. The producers did a great job. Hulu, I guess, financed it. But there's another photo from this album, and this is on Warner Brothers. So this is a little different than the previous Columbia. So last record, I think this may be his last record, but there are live records that I don't have that have come out. There was one recently on Record Store Day. So that's basically it. God bless Sly Stone. I hope he's doing well. Sly's about 82 now. So he's not actually interviewed on this Hulu documentary, but he is his president. He's omnipresent. They do show interviews of him with past interviews and past documentaries, and there's great clips of him with his kids later on, and they actually go on to say that Sly is doing better. So let's just hope he does really, really good, really well. So keep rocking. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Check this documentary out. You won't regret it.